My friends and I planted this 200-tree fruit orchard 2.5 years ago, and before that, it was just a dry and barren 5-acre field. But in just 3 months of work, we designed, built, and planted all of it. And today, I'm going to peel the curtains back and show you exactly how we did it, how much it costs, and all the lessons we learned along the way. Before we begin, welcome to the channel. I'm Isaac and I love to build beautiful spaces in nature. So hit subscribe, turn the notifications bell on, and welcome to the adventure. I was born and raised right here in the heart of Texas, and I grew up a big family. We always had a garden and I hated it, to be honest with you. I did not inherit my mom's green thumb, but I've always been artistic and tried to approach problems from that mindset of, why does it have to be this way? So I thought, well, what if we made an orchard that was as beautiful as it was fruitful? A place to go and meditate, a place to meet your friends, a place to go and spend time alone, to dream, because I really believe that dreaming is important. So I started to dream about this orchard, and lo and behold, just 300 feet from the front door of the house where my wife and I are now raising a family was this dry, barren field, a blank canvas just waiting for the right story to be told, for beauty to be created. Now, before you see why and how I built this orchard, you've got to understand a little bit more about where I live. So this is an agrarian, traditional Christian community. About 250 folks living together, 60 private homesteads, a craft village of shops, a blacksmith shop, grist mill, farm-to-table cafe, and a lot of agricultural areas. I'm third generation here, and for over 50 years, we've been living out this beautiful experiment of how to live, work, and create together. We have over 200,000 folks a year visit us here in Texas, and over a dozen other campuses similar to this one worldwide. So all that to say, I'm lucky enough to have a bunch of friends and family that see things the same way I do, that feel the same about creating beauty in this incredible place that we call home. So back to my crazy orchard plan. I spent a few days just obsessing over Pinterest boards and sketching ideas for this orchard and trying to apply that artistic lens to how to create this space that would be inspirational to work in, to be in, and to pick fruit in. And then I brought all of it together into a simple one-pager. And I called a meeting with all my closest friends and neighbors. And in that meeting, I laid out the plan as convincingly as I could. We'd have 200 fruit trees, a beautiful grape arbor surrounding all of it. In the heart of it, a timber-framed pergola with herb gardens, flowers, and a koi pond with a water feature, and beautiful stone pathways curving to tie it all together. And then I made the ask, who is in? About 15 hands shot up. I still remember we were standing right over there this Saturday morning, and I was so relieved because there was no way I was gonna do this thing by myself. We had carpenters, we had gardeners, orchardists, and just other dreamers like myself, all of us eager to get our hands dirty. Everybody in the community wanted to see this field improved. So we had our location secured, I had my workforce, and we had this ambitious, albeit a little naive, plan. Now, our number one problem was water, because here in Central Texas, summers can be brutal, and you have to consistently water young fruit trees like multiple times a week during the summer months. Now, thankfully, we're here in the Brazos River Valley, which means we have very shallow water available. We already had a well, about a 40-foot well, and believe it or not, a windmill and a water tower. How perfect is that? It was already this beloved community icon. But we had to find a way to get that water and distribute it to all 207 individual tree locations and the grapes surrounding the whole orchard. A friend and I designed a system after some experimentation and research, and we ended up trenching over 1 mile of 3 feet deep trenches. The soil was very sandy, so it was actually pretty easy to trench through, down every tree row and around all the perimeters for our main lines. And then we laid over 1 mile of drip irrigation. That was one of the most costly parts of the whole project. Once we had that in place, we laid out and started forming and pouring concrete in these beautifully curved pathways. There were 3 of them leading to the heart of the orchard where we designed this pergola. Simultaneously, we milled timber. A friend of mine, Blake, who's a master craftsman, milled all the cedar timber and then timber framed this incredible structure for shade. We planted climbing roses on it and all manner of plants. One of the beautiful things about an orchard is that it's this perfect microcosm of biodiversity. So you've got all different kinds of varieties of fruit trees, but then we started adding in some of these permaculture elements. So all in, including the trees themselves, we spent just over $75,000. The trees themselves were about $7,000 total, comes out to about $31 per sapling, and we bought them bare root because you save a little money. Of course, we also saved money wholesale because we were buying over 200 at a time. Now, timing-wise, I should mention, this whole project was perfect for me because I had just launched Live Oak Lake, my 7-cabin micro resort about 10 minutes down the road, gotten the operations fairly automated. So I actually allocated the first quarter's profits from that business and poured all of it into this orchard. At the end of those 3 months, I added it up and we spent collectively somewhere over 1,000 hours altogether to bring this dream to life. We got it all complete, but then we actually had to let it rest for a couple months because planting season is in January and we finished all the infrastructure stage in October. So then in January of 2023, all of us came together again for the celebratory planting day. And it was such a special feeling. We had 207 these saplings. And when I say sapling, it was basically just an 18-inch bare stick. That's seriously all it looked like. And it felt like such a leap of faith to believe that that bare stick was going to turn into a tree. But check this out. This is one of the peach trees that is seriously only 2.5 years old now. And this thing is at least 1.5 times as tall as me with probably a 4-inch diameter. This is possible because I would say first and foremost, we have the right water. And so we have all of the hydration this tree needs. And then a friend of mine who has a lot more experience planting fruit trees here in the South recommended we added mycorrhizal fungi to the holes as we planted. And that stimulates drought tolerance and disease resistance. Of course, we added compost, patted it all down, said a prayer, and seriously, we haven't done much since then except for pruning. With an orchard, most of the work happens up front. You've got the irrigation, the fencing, the planting, the pruning, and then the foundation is laid and you really have an asset that's generational, something you really can pass on to your kids and those that come after you. Pruning is really important. And if you've never done it before, it feels brutal, especially that first time, because at the end of year 1, the trees had tripled in size from their original stage, and we had to take off like 50% of all of that growth. But it's critical, especially in those first few years, because you're setting that tree up for the rest of its life. And you want to make it balanced, improve airflow, and make it channel its energy where it should be going so that it can bear fruit for 20, 30, 50 years. In the last 6 months since we pruned, the trees have tripled again in size. We've actually just now harvested the first fruits. So by next year, and especially the following year, which will be the 4th year, we're gonna have a flood of fruit. Orchards date back thousands of years, and in many cultures, it's an act of faith and legacy to plant a tree, something you do for others, not just for yourself. And a couple of weeks after we planted our orchard, my wife Helen gave birth to our first son, Lucas. And so now they're both just over 2 years old, and it's been so much fun seeing them grow up together. I hope this story inspires you to go dream. Go find your own barren field and plant a tree, a couple trees. Better yet, find a few friends to do it together with. They say the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time is today. We're just getting started with this orchard, and I've got a lot of other transformations to show you. I'll see you on the next video.